Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print, the Force is with the readers, and we return to February of 1986 and the Droids series this time around. I'm your host, Nathan P. Butler. The issue we're looking at this time around is issue number 2 of the Droids series here. It is entitled The Ultimate Weapon, and we see here on the cover these little sort of swarm little probe-looking droids here coming after R2-D2 and C-3PO. R2 freaking out. Still not with a lot of blue on him, really, except for shadows there. And it says here on the cover, C-3PO says, "We're in deep trouble, R2. You with shorted circuits, the hover guards attacking." Kind of odd syntax there, but okay, whatever. You can find this these days in the pages of Star Wars Omnibus, Droids, and Ewoks, as has been all the other Star comic stuff we've looked at here. The story here is actually continuing from the previous issue. Holy crap, there's continuity in the Star Comics series. What we have, essentially, is that R2-D2 was damaged, dealing with the Destroyer by charging up the X1 and whatnot back in the previous story entitled The Destroyer. Now, they need to get R2-D2 to some repairs, as is referenced on the first page here, which is kind of nice. They wind up going to Lon Id's repair station, and they are actually being brought there on a ship by Vic and Nikki Id, this brother and sister duo here that look very much like something that could have been out of an Archie comic, or again, Richie Rich or anything like that, which sort of fits the feel of this. By the time they arrive, though, they wind up discovering that something is amiss. There is a surprising ship docked there as we get to In the Company of Evil, which is part 2 of the story, the second half of that issue. And it turns out that, holy crap, there's an appearance of characters from the Droids cartoon series that took place at least 5 years earlier. Remember the cartoon series 15 BBY? This stuff all happening between 10 and 6 BBY with no specifics in between. It's Tig From and Vlix Uncard, who apparently have managed to escape after being imprisoned back in the cartoon series, and they are there to force Lon Id, the father of Nikki and Vic, to put a new super powerful laser he's developed onto their ship. The day winds up being saved thanks basically to two things that happen with the droids. Now, granted, Vic is able to convince his sister to use sort of a makeup poofer thing that blows out, powder to distract the villains and such. But they also discover this Guardian droid that is shut down, basically in the basement or in a storage area. And R2-D2 first is sent out against some of the guards, and he's allowed to essentially reactivate the parts he hasn't had activated since he got damaged back in the previous issue, and all these little sparks and all kinds of crazy stuff start going on, and that distracts the guards and sends them somewhat away. Okay, so that takes care of them, at least until R2 gets blasted by one of those flying hover droid things, and R2 is in even worse shape than he was in the first place. While he's knocked out, C-3PO takes it upon himself to go and put on the Guardian droid's outer plating as if it is armor. I'm not sure how you do that. How do you core out the droid? You just take the armor plating off, because it's not like it's clothing, right? Suffice to say, then again, he does refer to himself as naked in The Phantom Menace, so maybe he thinks of it as clothing. Suffice to say, the Guardian droid comes in. The Froms have their little droids attack it. It doesn't work because it bounces off of his metal skin. He manages to knock out all of those droids and such, and then Vic pulls a switch, and down comes a net to catch good old Tiggy and catch Vlix, which again is Vlix Uncard, as in, the name because of the rarity of a Vlix action figure on a card and such. The day is saved. The From gang members are to be handed over, presumably, to the authorities. R2-D2 is going to get fixed as a thank you from Lon Id, and he's going to make sure they get to the Intergalactic Droid Agency as soon as they are ready so they can find a new master. They're not going to stay there. By the way, we should know here, again, R2-D2, not a lot of blue. How are we to know that's R2-D2 except for his general shape and the fact they keep calling him R2-D2 because there's not a lot of blue there. But it's the Intergalactic Droid Agency. If it was intragalactic, I could see it, traveling across this galaxy. But it's intergalactic. Does that mean they actually send droids to other galaxies? Remember, inter versus intra, right? Internet, intranet, all that stuff. It seems very weird here. But again, Marvel tends to use galactic and all kinds of stuff as if they mean the same thing as universe, etc., etc. Remember those, the gemwood trees are the rarest and most valuable things in the entire universe, thanks to apparently the Ewok series a while back. So again, makes for sort of an odd read here, but again, it's kind of cool because we get to see Vlix and Tig back with no real explanation of how they escaped from the cartoon series. And of course, at this point, all the cartoon series got left is the Great Heap, so it's kind of cool to see them back again at this point when they would have been gone from the airwaves by the point that this was being published. Not a great issue, a decent little issue here. Kind of reminds me of a lot of the stuff we got back in the early Adventures classic Star Wars newspaper strips with Russ Manning. Sort of has that sort of feel to it and whatnot. Is this story an essential read? Of course not. Absolutely not. It is essential, I guess, if you've read the previous Droid story, because it does tell what happens to R2-D2 after he was damaged back in the previous issue, but beyond that, not really all that intriguing or continuity-oriented at all. You could skip this and never notice it if you're a modern reader. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the readers.